Are albums dead?
Mm.
Do we want to go down that path?
I'm happy to.
I guess we can all, because it's a bit of a discussion topic, but we can all say our piece on it.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
Well, I'm going to say no. My albums are not dead. I know a lot of people are going out and doing EPs and like what we're doing and what we're going to do. But in essence, I don't think albums, it's so hard to, I think any band that releases, that makes any sort of music is awesome, regardless if it's in an EP or an album format. It's like, you can't really say an album's dead because it's not, because album's music. You know what I mean? You could call an EP an album if you wanted to. Like, it's just an EP because it's like 4 songs or 5 songs or whatever. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say albums are not dead. I think it's just more the digital age has really tarnished like CD sales, which, you know, when you release a CD, it was essentially an album. You know what I mean? And I think that's why people would say, oh, albums are because of the digital age and we can just download it and you can just get a digital copy of it instead of getting a physical copy. You know what I mean? And, you know, well, that's what we're doing. We're doing an EP, but that's more because we've only, you know, we've only got 4 or 5 songs at the moment and we want to concentrate on doing those. But sometimes bands have more songs and, you know, it's obviously an album, but I'm going to say no, albums are not dead. No.
Can I be controversial?
Yeah.
Throw a spanner in the works around that. All right.
Yeah. Rusty, what do you think?
I agree that they're not dead from an artistic perspective.
Yeah.
I think there are plenty of bands that are doing albums that are albums. I think there are plenty of bands, though, that do albums that aren't albums. They're not well considered. They are just a collection of 10 to 12 songs that don't flow, don't work with each other, aren't well considered, don't come back to an overall theme or topic or concept. They're just songs. And they didn't really need to be on an album. And some of the tracks are fillers and there's issues. So the concept of an album, in the sense that it was a moment in time and we're actually pushing the boundaries of our musical thing, is already in question. I think that's an issue. But I think the other part of it, as far as people listening to music, they're very dead. I just don't think that people... I think musicians release albums because they want to do art. I don't think people listen to music because they appreciate that art. Does that make sense? Like the last real groundbreaking album that I've heard, and I review albums, but don't get me wrong, like over the last year I've done over 100 reviews. And the last actual groundbreaking album that I listened to would have been Insomnium's Winter's Gate. And it was, I think it's a 45-minute length song that's broken into chapters, right?
Okay.
And he actually wrote a story that went along with it, that you can read and listen to, and he's recorded in, you know, whatever his native tongue is and all that sort of stuff as well. But the song or the album actually broke boundaries. Like no one had done it in that fashion before. Like no one had not only just done this massive stream of a song, but introduced some really different concepts and ideas throughout the song. You know, from Mars to Sirius by Gajura or something like that. You know, like albums that you go, I can see how this is a landmark album. I felt that ours was like that. Like, to be honest, and I still listen to it now and I go, we did a good job of saying this part's anger, this part's sadness. And we're exploring these two ideas and we've bookmarked these with orchestral bits and pieces. And there's a story that's sort of told throughout them. Like when we get to, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I listen to one of the songs, I expect the next song to play. I know what comes next. Do you know what I mean? Like I can hear it. And I think when you do that, it becomes something more than just a collection of songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think...
I totally agree with you. That,
yeah,
like,
people's habits have changed. They don't... Like, music is now the soundtrack to... Like, it's the background. It's not the focus of people's lives anymore. I think it's a massive problem. That's my soapbox, though.
Dude, I'm not, but I totally agree with you there. Like, there are people just release a collection of songs and say it's an album. Like it also comes down to what an album, what's your definition of an album to yourself? To someone else, it's going to be different. But you're totally right. Like, especially like albums from like the 90s, like say like Fear Factory, Obsolete. Like that's an album because that told a story.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
But even Demanufacture was a very clever album. Like it worked really well. And again, broke new ground. It said something new that nobody else was saying at that time, something really unique. But most of those bands that you talk about that ended up very, very popular did that. Like Cowboys from Hell is a really good example of that. And you go back even further, you talk about like Master of Puppets, definitely a landmark album. That absolutely blew everyone's mind when that came out. It was insane. And then you think of like Burn My Eyes by Machine Head, and you think of like those albums, Rain and Blood. God damn. When that came out, it was like, what the hell? Are you allowed to do that to a guitar, Kerry King? Like these were the things. And then with all the other subgenres, those sorts of bands that make those defining moments and the albums that they did, like Suffocation, what was it called? Effigy of the Forgotten. Yeah, that one was a landmark album. It showed something really different. And again, like I said, push boundaries. I just feel that that's what it needs to be doing. But I'm keen to know what Brendan, because your taste in music's not. Like mine's probably 80% metal and the rest is like folk rock and bits and pieces like that. But Brendan, you tend to have like far more eclectic tastes than any of us.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
There's a couple of points, I guess. The first point has come from you guys talking about albums from the 80s and 90s. So I think at that time, getting music recorded and released was a lot harder and a lot more expensive, also a lot more lucrative. So at that point in time, yes, it works. Now it's easy for bands to record a single. No, how can I put this? I still think bigger bands can run the single album tour thing. Smaller bands like us and bands we play with, it costs us a lot of money to record an album. So recording an EP is a lot more attractive. Recording it yourself in your bedroom is even more attractive. And we can release it on Spotify really, really cheaply. So our budget can range from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars to release something. The medium, I think, of physical albums is, in my mind, genre specific. And when I say that, I'm sort of mostly talking about vinyl. So the two mediums of vinyl and digital. I think CDs are dead. Personally, for me, I have no interest in CDs whatsoever. I think they're a complete waste of resources, a waste of material, a waste of time and money. And an LP, like a record, I think is good for certain genres. But I think a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. That's just my opinion. People sell them, so that's good. So it's still it's an interesting medium, I think, vinyl.
Outsold records, vinyl outsold CD for the first time.
Yeah.
In 19s, something.
Yeah.
I
read that the
There's
other day.
more to vinyl. There's more feel. There's more personality. It's more of a ritual to put a vinyl record on. And listen
Definitely
to it, turn it
like
over,
a renaissance.
But in saying that though, like, I know vinyl's cool, like you like saying sound and look wise, but back in the day, people, when they released an album or a CD, like they actually gave a fuck about what they did, like the design of it. Like you see at CDs now, just like whatever, you don't even get a booklet, but CDs from back in the day, actually you would look forward to getting the booklet because you could find out about the band, and all that. And I think a lot of now you just see that there's no, I don't know, design in the CD for it to be because a vinyl is awesome because you could like the artwork's awesome. I mean, you can have a flip out and all that sort of stuff. So it's more bang for your buck if you want. You know what I mean? And I don't have a vinyl.
It's kind of like relevant to the time. Like back then, people would have put more like effort in because people were buying them. You know, people were looking at the book, were really checking it out.
Yeah.
But now it hits that point. Like Brendan was saying, I feel the same. Like a CD, I wouldn't buy a CD unless it was like, you know, a band I knew, a mate's band or something, and I was trying to support that band. But otherwise, it's just like, it's almost like a burden to have it. It's like, well, what am I going to do with this plastic case now and put it in the shed, or am I put it in the car? Or
the only CD player I have is the one in my car. I don't have a CD player. I have a record player. I don't have a CD player. I think bands nowadays have more touch with their fans too. So Metallica can talk directly with their fans through any of their social medias. They don't have to wait till they release an album and do interviews and do stuff like that. They can post a picture and get that really, really cheap. They don't have to do it. They have people that do it for them. They get that touch. They get that interaction with their fans.
It is like funny you say that, Brendan, because I was like looking at like an old Korn CD that I had the other day, and then it had like Korn fan mail and like a write to them. Like you could like write to and like you send it to their like mail address. Remember how you could do that? Like that was the way that you could like be in touch with a band. But now you're right. Like, you know, the bands can access all their fans through all these mediums. They don't need to do it through that CD and you know in the booklet and all that sort of stuff. You know, because some booklets are really thick and they got all the information there, but because obviously the internet wasn't widely available back in the So, but yeah, it's a good.
I'd like to touch on what you said, Frosty, about the artwork side of it, coming from a creation point of view, and the point that you made that you feel there's a clear with our last album, or our only full album. For you, there's a clear anger and a clear sadness, and they're separated. And so I don't necessarily feel that. I don't see that. But I can understand how you can because you created it. As a complete piece of art, I can see that someone who would write that stuff and write it like that would do it that way, because that's the only way you can capture it. You can't just capture it in a 4-song EP. You have to capture it in a certain way through certain songs, tell the story, and it's almost like that full set of dialogue gets started and completed. That was a really good point.
Absolutely. I think in what's everyone's talking about here too, the thing I sort of want to pick up on is that, how do you put it, band availability now. I think whilst it's great that you can talk directly to bands and you can, I can tag my favorite vocalists on Twitter or whatever, and they might even respond, but there's almost, it stops you from looking. Do you know what I mean? Like once you get recognized and seen, now what? Like what do I do now? Like I guess I'll come and see you when you come back again, but I'm not hungry for it anymore, I suppose. And look, and it was the thing, while Rory was saying, now I've got this plastic CD, or what the hell am I going to do with this? And I really take his point. I have to say that the only times I buy CDs now, unless I am trying to support a local band, and even then, I'll never put the CD on.
I'd rather buy a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. The last few times I've bought CDs is to get bands to sign them. That's the only reason. And then I never play them because they're signed, because this is now an artifact. Like that's what I did with Korn. That's what I did with August Burns Red. Like all those bands, Machine Head was the same. Like all of them, all I wanted was the CD and with your signature on it, right? And then I can take that. I've got that. That's my artifact now, and something I've collected, and it's part of what I sort of stand for, I guess. But I will say though, it's probably more our generation that listened to music in that fashion. I think it was really our generation that spent time, like you were saying, Ben, going through the booklets, reading all the lyrics. reading the thank yous. I mean, you remember reading the
Yeah.
thank yous at the end of these booklets and going, holy shit, look at all these people that helped, and oh wow, they know this guy from this band, and look at that, and rah
Yeah.
rah, and then you'll make you look up that band, and you sort of go back and forth. So it's more of a generational thing. I think it's somewhat that part seems dead to me now. You know, it doesn't. We keep doing it because that's the habit that we developed. But the younger generation, I just don't see that it's really like that anymore for them.
Yeah.
It's consumed differently.
Yeah, it's just consumed differently. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. It's just different to the way we do it. What about you, McRoryson?
He's gone bushwalking.
He's gone bush.
Hello. I was just taking a wee. I just had it on mute. What were we up to? It's very wait on. I better go inside. It's very rainy and loud out here. In my backyard, it's like a slip and slide. I go out there, and I've got to like stabilize with each step because my mockies have no tread. So if I take one like misstep, I'm sliding, bro. I'm off.
There's the name of the EP, guys. Mockies have got no tread.
My Mockies have no tread.
My mockie's got no tread. Dun, 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 dun. Moccasins. Love your work. Really, I wish we had more tread. It's a bit flat, this. Bit flat. I'm not getting much tread when I go outside. It's a bit muddy. But other than that, it's all good. Thanks for the sponsorships. So what was the question?
Album's dead, bro.
Album's dead, Rory. Do you think they're dead?
I think in some senses they are, but in a lot of senses they are not. Are we talking like we're not talking CDs, like making physical album CDs, are we? We're talking like the concept of an album, like 10 songs.
I think both. I think
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think an album still definitely exists because, and like it's still very much a real thing. I still see a lot of like artists putting out albums. Even like, because I listen to a lot of rappers, even like a lot of like Aussie rappers, they're still putting like albums out, or even like, short collaborative EPs with other dudes. I've seen that where they might do like 7 songs, but it's all like 7 songs with another dude. But I still think it's all going on. I still think there's albums in the works.
Yeah. Rory's all positive and optimistic. We just said all these horrible things. And he's just like, nah, man.
It's all good. Talking about.
Don't fucking say bad things about me albums, bro. Fuck you.
I think the album as a concept is still alive.
Yeah.
Even if it's not consumed that way. But
I think it's
medium,
also.
I think we can agree that the
just
physical CD is
it's also the market's so saturated